It's the original cast
Boom.
of USfanTV.
Remix.
Usually, if there's two of us, TJ's one because he will do this show holding on to a screaming, hungry child. He will do this show like in a ditch doing military training, which he's actually doing some sort of military thing right now, but he can't be on this week. But usually he'll fill in for either one of us. But I don't remember the last time you and I, the founders of US Fan TV,
It
were
has
on
been a
US Fan
while.
TV
It has
without
been a
him.
while.
It's
You
kind of nice not
you
having him
you've
here.
had a lot of shows missed lately.
It's getting increasingly hard for me to get this thing done. But I'm here today, so that's what matters.
Yeah, Christian says, "How was going on strike, hat guy?"
There's no strike, man. I don't even remember what I know. I missed the Costa Rica game post match because I was at my son's games. He had a couple that day, and it was right, of course, conveniently exactly at the time that the U.S. was playing. So I never even saw that match. But I did watch US Fan TV, and Chris did not seem pleased. So that was my.
I don't know that that's true.
You were very like you weren't like worked up, like angry worked up. You were sort of like in a you're at a truck stop and things have gone wrong and you might have to fight a man type worked up. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
it's you were like
Like,
a
I thought you might kill someone, a stranger.
yeah, along those lines. Yes,
Yeah.
you were like I'm like wow, was it? I mean, it's just a camp cupcake friendly. You're like, tell me if you've heard this before. So I didn't even see that match, and after
Oh, yeah,
watching
well,
the first few minutes of the show, I didn't really want to.
riddle me this, Batman.
But we got we're going to talk about Mr. Pulisic visiting his future city to beat, presumably, a team that he will beat often. Although who can tell with what's going on with Chelsea these days? Um, but we're going to talk about Tottenham and
Who?
Borussia Dortmund in a moment. We also we were on the minivan dad soccer pod with TJ.
Indeed. Indeed.
And TJ will just there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it. There are no segues. It's just kind of random questions until he wants to stop. And we were kind of inspired by one of the random questions the last time we were on, which was he just immediately spur of the moment sprung on us. Which stadiums would you want to see? Of the ones you haven't yet been to, which ones would you want to see in the world? And it was like kind of that's kind of a fun question. So I have a fun question for you after we talk about the game. But first, we're going to talk about the game, and we're going to talk about. Wait, you know what we should do? I should tell you that I am Pat and he is Chris,
I am Chris. That is my name.
and we're going to talk about Champions League is thankfully back and going on and back in our lives, and had that very enjoyable fisticuffs between PSG and Man United today. I did not see Roma Porto, but I saw that Roma won. But tomorrow's the big one.
Can you watch the? Could you watch the Roma game? Because
I think that was
isn't that
one
on
that
the TNT
yeah.
online broadcast?
Do they sell them for $3 though, don't they?
I think that's right. Yeah.
That doesn't seem.
I mean, it's not impossible.
I will give them credit for that because everything's on a different streaming service now, and you and I have texted about that, how increasingly annoying it's getting. But I like the idea that the Bleacher Report Turner folks will just sell you a game for $3. Because if I don't know that I want to have the Champions League, because like a lot of the time, since Champions League is on during the day, I'm passively watching it, sort of like I do if I ever watch baseball. It's always just kind of on in the background. I don't get to sit and watch, but I like to have it on. But if I'm paying for it, I don't want to pay $100 a year or whatever it may be to have the package to just not be able to intensely watch. If I'm paying for it, I really want to watch. But if I'm throwing down $3, I don't really mind having it on in the background. So I do give them credit. I like the $3 thing. And if you got to do it, I think that's probably the best way to do it. So, but But luckily, um, Tottenham and Borussia Dortmund is on, what is it, TNT or TBS? Which one are they putting it on? I don't
I
even
think
know.
it's TNT that games are on now.
I don't even know which one of the two they put it on, but I know it's on one of those Turner networks. So, um, first of all, I will ask you, Chris, will Christian Pulisic play in this game?
I think there is a very, very good chance. One, they kind of need him based on that they are a little short of players right now. So I think there's a good chance that he makes the field kind of based on that alone. Um, I'm torn on whether or not they'll start Sancho. It is England. Um, they are a selling club, so I could see them perhaps putting him out a little bit on a stage. Um, he presumably, I mean, every player wants to play, of course, but like, a chance to kind of play at home, so to speak. Um, you would expect he'll be itching to play. Um, and even though there's no Harry Kane, Spurs seem to be the luckiest team on earth.
I can't even.
They, what does it mean? No Harry Kane. The guy scores goals that just, oh, someone kicked a ball into him. Oh, and it flew in this amazing shot over the goal. Like, the amount of luck that team has on their side right now. Um, they might need Sancho out there just to help compete with some of this. So will Pulisic play? I think yes. Will he start? I don't know. I would
They can
tend to
actually
think
sell out. Anybody know? Maybe some Chelsea fans will be going there to
yeah.
see their future, maybe savior, you
Darling.
could call him after this last weekend for them. But yeah, I think he'll play. I don't know that he'll start. They do have some injuries to contend with. Alex said he'll come out in the 88th minute because Favre doesn't trust him. I don't know if it's that Favre doesn't trust him. I think it's that he's just not part of the plans going forward, and so they just
I tend to think that's part of it. Sancho Sancho playing well gave them the ability to maximize their return or investment or whatever on Pulisic, and Sancho continues to play well, so it's sort of paying off for them. They don't risk injuring a player who's been quote unquote loaned back to them, and they've got their money made on him. They're looking to make their money off
right.
Sancho
Yeah,
or whatever. So
that Man City sale is going to be
in
amazing.
terms of in terms of the business side of it, why wouldn't you be playing Sancho? It makes perfect sense. And then in terms of the game side of it, he's been rewarding them there too. So
Yeah,
like yes, as an American, of course, I want Pulisic to play. My skepticism of English players, or maybe not English players per se, but of like the hype around English players, I kind of don't want Sancho to succeed. But as a Dortmund fan, like yeah, like the guy's he's been awesome. I can't fault them for playing him.
it's pretty clear who we want to win tomorrow. I mean, it's not only there's a team that we do want to win, but there's also a team that we really enjoy when they lose. So I know who we want to win. Who do we think? Assuming whether Pulisic does or does not play a role, does Tottenham pull something out of their ass tomorrow? Or
My general guess would be that Spurs actually win this simply because Dortmund will be playing to get back to home. Uh, they have other games to focus on right now. They're still focused on winning the league. Um, I would guess that they're gonna, if anything, they're gonna try and play for a draw. I don't think they're truly gonna play for a win on this. Maybe if they score 2 goals like in the first 20 minutes, sure, then all bets are off. But that kind of changes the game on any in any case. Um, my general feeling would be that they're probably going to play to get back to home, and they're not going to overexert themselves. They're not going to try and wear themselves out too much because they are still focused um, on a very big deal for them. I mean, it's you know it's highly likely that I don't know if I want to say likely because that seems like a jinx, but like it's extremely plausible that Dortmund could win the league this year, and they don't want to screw that up.
Yeah, and well, Bayern crept back a little bit this weekend. I think it's 5 points now. So um, they're a screw up or two away from fumbling it. Like it looks like Liverpool might, but yeah, it would be nice, and I don't mean this as as an Arsenal fan. I relish anytime anyone can destroy Tottenham, and I know that the Chelsea fans aren't fond of Tottenham either. So it would be nice if Mr. Pulisic could come in and maybe score a couple of goals or do something great to start terrorizing the Spurs fans a little bit early, because as we know, the history of the Tottenham is that you fail in these sorts of situations. So we'll see, but yeah, they seem to have all the luck they could possibly have. Their construction company doesn't have any luck, but they seem to have all the luck that they could possibly have going right now. So
yeah, the ruined luck of building that stadium has somehow like created an inverse amount of luck for them as a team. It's like the ball just bounces right whenever it needs to. They always get the call they need.
yeah, somebody said it earlier though. I as excited as I am for this one,
the dive they
oh,
need.
of course. Mike Dean happens to be assigned to their game because they need. What was I just saying? You just interrupted me, and I had a really great thought. Oh, the Champions League matchup I'm most excited to see is Liverpool Bayern. That's going to be fun, but this one should be fun too. So we'll see.
I will definitely be pulling for Bayern in that match. Not often that I'm behind Bayern, but that will be one.
You do have a track record of hating Liverpool.
Let's just say I'll be hoping for worse than 10-2.
Oh my God, don't even bring up 10-2.
Whatever.
That was like, you know what that was like? That was like
impending doom.
You just kind of, it was just like
you knew you were going to get embarrassed, but you had to, like, you knew it was coming. You knew there was nothing you could do about it, and nothing you could do was going to stop this damn team from doing it to you again.
Yeah. It was like, I'm gonna watch. Okay, I'm gonna do this to myself. But you know what? If you brace yourself for that sort of, I always say on this show that hope is the thing that kills you. If you're a fan of this or any sport, really, hope is what kills you. Maybe not if you're a fan of the Patriots, because those assholes just keep getting things and getting things. But
yeah, is it any surprise that Harry Kane is a
Patriots
fan? Ugh, so disgusting. I thought I couldn't hate him.
I didn't
think I could hate him more.
This is not related to anything, but the people who think that Tom Brady has somehow passed or is at least equal to Michael Jordan. By the way, we shouldn't be comparing athletes in different sports as to who's greater. But I'll tell you this, Tom Brady is nowhere near Michael Jordan. No. Let me get that clear for you.
I will agree 100% on that one. No.
Anybody who has written that never watched Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan didn't have performances like Tom Brady did in that Super Bowl. Anyway, this is a soccer show. I'm sorry, they probably didn't Jack, man. I know Jack is a big Tom Brady fan.
Yeah.
I'm just not. Yeah, so what's our other game? Ajax and Real Madrid, is that right? Is that the other game tomorrow?
Dude, Aiden says he's from North London. He's watching it 3:30 in the morning. His twin sister's a Spurs fan. Dude, how did you let that happen?
That's terrible. That is terrible, Aiden. But what are you doing up at 3:28 in the morning in North London? I wish I was in North London right now. It's been a few years. You were just there last year.
There just a few months ago.
Lovely Islington. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a few months ago.
Yeah. Oh, Aiden, I'll ask you. Do you have a name for the Piebury Corner Aaron Lamsey pie? I'll throw this one to you too. I've been trying to think of one. Lori did give me one. Aubameyang. Their pies are awesome, and I enjoy the ridiculous puns.
That's really good. She came up with that. You need to send that in. That's really good.
Oh, I did. I haven't checked their Twitter feed today to see if it got any response.
I don't know.
Apparently, TJ could not show up, but he has decided to watch and has decided to troll us on behalf of Tom Brady.
Of course, TJ takes the contrary opinion, Jesus Christ,
the one that I'm sure he doesn't even believe.
Come on, TJ. You know what? Since you're listening, TJ, Chris and I are kind enough to do the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod, and I listened to the intro. Did you listen to the intro? What he said before we were on that, Chris? I bet you didn't.
I know he said I was awesome.
He said we were low energy. He's like, I asked these guys to come on, and they were pretty low energy. I talked about Hitler and Jesse Owens on that show. I mean, you're not going to get that anywhere else. I talked about probably, I don't even remember what else I talked about. When it goes there, there's nothing else you can really say. But yeah, it was you're kind enough to do somebody's podcast, and then they sell you out when they record their intro, even when you are nice enough to record them wonderful show intros and
intro music,
stingers throughout. Yeah, if you haven't listened to the Minivan Dad Pod, Chris and I are taking our job very seriously of coming up with different audio clips that TJ can run throughout his show. The auto tune is oftentimes Chris singing.
Christian's comment about why you're talking about Hitler in the soccer podcast. That's a fair one. I'm going to take Christian's other comment though. This is one that we did have notes leading into this. How we got derailed, I don't know. It seems to happen a lot.
That's a good segue.
Fernando Clavijo, Christian brings up. Yeah, an American legend just passed away.
Yeah, sad to hear.
Was that Friday? Fernando Clavijo. If you guys, I don't think most of you were alive to see this, but for those of you who were, a member of the 1994 World Cup team, started in 3 of the games, was a coach of the Revs and the Rapids in MLS. I'm probably the only person who may have actually seen him play indoor who watches this show. Was a famous member of the San Diego Sockers in the 80s.
Landon Donovan's new club.
Yeah.
He debut this weekend.
Come to think of it, yeah. There's another segue. But anyway, he. Frankly, I think everyone from that '94 team is borderline a member of the Mount Rushmore. We've talked about the Mount Rushmore.
This is going to come up. This is going to come up in a few minutes.
Yeah, just about every member of that '94 team is they started something that until recently they started a train that we couldn't get off the track. I grew up a huge soccer fan, partially probably because I'm originally from St. Louis, but that it was always huge there. But I had Soccer Digest and stuff that I got as a kid. When I wasn't attending games or whatever, I was reading about it. I had dreams of playing for the national team when I was a kid, in the early '80s. When it's you have to look at it and go we had a national team. To some extent, prior to about 1990, uh, at least 89, you kind of, it's hard to believe we had a national team because, yeah, until about 92, or maybe as you consider the team that was practicing for,
Oh
TJ
God.
is here, practicing for the 90 World Cup, there was really no such thing um, as professional soccer players in the U.S.
Yeah, that's the thing that people. I've kind of explained the story to people too, younger people. Like I played soccer up until I was maybe 12 or so, and then I decided to focus on basketball full time, which was not a good choice. But yeah, it you could play the other sports. You could go, I want to be like that guy. I want to be a pro. But like, I didn't really know growing up here in Chicago that you could be a professional soccer player. It just wasn't something that I considered. It was just, why am I getting feedback, TJ? What have you? Are you playing the speakers in your room? Come on, man! Amateur hour over there. Wait, are you? I thought you were.
Bush
Why do you have
League.
a child in the military? Are you home?
What? I'm home.
I thought
I'm
you were
driving to
like.
I got home. I've been driving to Fort Sheridan every day.
Where's that?
North of Highland Park.
Oh, you're commuting to the Army?
Yes, I have a workshop that I'm at all week.
A workshop?
Yes, Commander's Workshop.
I thought you were at like Fort
Knox or
again or something. Yeah.
No, this one's here. So, and because the roads were also special tonight, and I think I left Fort Sheridan about 8 o'clock. So,
is that your Army shirt?
It's what's underneath my, the Army top. Yeah.
BDU.
The OCPs now.
Oh.
OCP.
That's the new one.
Fuck with. So you're here, so I'll let you. I'll give you some of the credit for this. When we were on your soccer podcast, the Minivan Dad soccer podcast,
I was listening. As I was getting dialed in.
Yeah, you had the. I really liked the question that you threw out toward the end, where you asked what stadiums would you want to go to, and so I liked the fact that I had to think about it kind of on the spot and kind of work through it. So I'm going to do one of those questions right now. Who are the 5 most impactful people in U.S. soccer history? And I'll tell you why I thought of this question, because of the David Beckham statue that's going up at the StubHub Home Depot, whatever it's called now, center in Carson, which I think is a great idea, by the way.
Did they announce with that statue that it's going to be like bronze and then the balls will be gold?
Oh my God, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Golden balls. But yeah, when I was thinking of this question today when I was driving, and I'm like, God, I would have to put David Beckham on my list, because if you guys, I mean, a lot of the viewers of the show are kind of younger, but for those who remember, when it was, I think it was January 07, when Beckham decided to come here, it was like, it had been talked about a little bit, but it was like, holy shit. Like, really?
I do remember us talking about it, going, oh my God, it really happened.
Like, really? And that sort of opened, I would argue, not only opened the floodgates for every, whether this is a knock on MLS or not, but for every older guy who wanted to come over and end his career here, which, as I've said on the record, I still think is pretty cool to see some of these guys in person. I like it. I don't want the MLS, the league, to only be known for that, but I'd say Beckham opened the doors for like a Almiron or a Giovinco or somebody like that to come here too. Some of the guys who were either younger or in their prime. And Beckham raised the profile for the whole damn thing, and I would definitely give him a spot in my 5 most impactful.
Well, realistically, Beckham, you could argue, but right on the heels, there were 3 of them. It was him, it was Henry, and it was Marquez. All came about the same time, in succession.
Blanco was right there too. I don't know if
I was going to say I would have gone with a different Mexican in.
Blanco wasn't Blanco. Wasn't Blanco before that, Beckham?
No, Blanco was right after, I think.
He was, I think, yeah, like he was immediately after, because wasn't that when they created the DP spot?
Yeah.
Just to do that?
Yeah.
So he was
Okay.
like month, 2 months, something like that. It was very, very shortly thereafter.
I have in my head that they were the first two, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But I think Golden Balls was definitely first. And sort of like Pele coming to America in the late 70s, I think that, Pele kind of reminded everybody that it was a sport they could play and watch. And I think Pele was the reason why a lot of kids in the US played youth soccer in the 80s, even though it was, like I said, it was nothing that anybody, at least I didn't see it as a this is something I could go play professionally. I didn't know about Europe at the time. It wasn't until later that I all kind of figured that out, but it was just the game that a lot of kids played. And I think that was because of Pele. And then Beckham coming here, made MLS from, pre-Beckham. I know it was a few years before Beckham, but we had guys running up from midfield on penalty kicks and the clock that counted down and all sorts of American twists on it. And for
The
Beckham
shootout.
to come here, yeah,
The
although
shootout.
those are pretty awesome when you watch them in hindsight. It might actually be a better way of doing things, but I don't want to be the league that does it completely different. But yeah, Beckham sort of legitimized it.
Didn't somebody blow their knee out, and that's kind of why they ended it? Wasn't it like Ronaldo blew a knee out or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, I do like when they post
whining a lot. His
it was always something. It was always something. He won like a preseason match with the Lights, and he was bitching that it wasn't on MLS.com, and it's because somebody didn't submit the game in, but he thought it was part of a general conspiracy against him.
Well, everything's a conspiracy. He's we always thought El Chile was going to be perfect for Las Vegas. No, it is Eric Winalda, because he's going to have all the drama of El Chile, but he can actually coach, it seems like.
Yeah,
so,
it does seem like that.
I mean, you talk about somebody, if he makes them good and he's still a drama queen, that's awesome. I'm looking for, and as long as the Llamas are still there and Freddie Adu, I'm good. I might actually start to like Las Vegas for those reasons. The Llamas, Freddie Adu, and Ronaldo. I mean, if they're winning too, that'd be fun.
Pranav says Clint Dempsey proved that Americans can compete in the top flight. Yeah, you could definitely argue. I was trying to think of who, from the men's side, you would want to include, like, players wise, and the names that I'll give you all of them that I was considering, and I working through this. Dempsey, obviously, for scoring 50 goals in the Premier League or whatever it was, he definitely had, at least as of right now, the best Premier League, basically the best European career, I think, of any American. I still think Landon Donovan was a better player for the national team, but I think what Christian Pulisic is doing right now, you could argue he, even at a young age, deserves a spot on the impactful list, because he's not just an American guy. He is a star in many ways. And another player, if I was thinking way back, this seems ridiculous now, but at the time, and all he's done since, I would argue Alexi Lalas might even deserve a spot on this list. He was a star. He was
He played what, Serie A? I mean,
yeah, he is the first American to play in Serie A that we know of anyway. I suppose there could have been some way back in the day that we just didn't know about.
Jack Warner, that's a good call.
Yeah, I've got a couple, and Jack Warner kind of brings me to I when I looked at, I didn't take your comment as according to players necessarily. I went with most influential people overall. One of them I would give to Chuck Blazer. Now, for all the reasons that guy was a crook and a scam artist and a scumbag and like all the negative things you can say about him, essentially the Gold Cup exists, and as much as I've shat on the Gold Cup, the Gold Cup exists because he wanted to find a way for our, at the time, still pretty much collegiate players to have like a professional opportunity to play other professional players. So he created this tournament kind of out of nothing. And now we laugh and kind of mock the Gold Cup for being sort of a rinky-dink tournament. But at the time, it was kind of a vital thing for our national team.
It's a great call.
If he hadn't been making some of these scam deals, honestly, we might not have gotten any better than we were in like 1992.
There's got to be a spot for a women's player on the
I
list.
also have Lamar Hunt on my
Lamar.
list.
Yeah, you know what? You're thinking more.
Because the guy did. It was a guy with enough clout and enough money to sort of go, wait a minute, I kind of like this soccer thing. Wait, why don't we have this here? And I mean, realistically, it's the only reason Kansas City has a team. It's the only reason they host games. It's
Chris. I mean, I'll you're close. I would actually say Clark Hunt, because the reason why Lamar Hunt got involved was because his kids, Clark, had played growing up, and they're the ones that got him in, that still enjoyed it and said, "Dad, invest in this," kind of thing. They were the ones that kind of got him going in the right direction. But
I thought his story was that he watched like
was it
1968 FA Cup or something like that, and was like, "What is this? This is I kind of like this." Despite having a football background, he was like, "Hey."
Well, for the women's game, I would say one of two, and it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's Mia Hamm or Brandy Chastain.
I would say Mia Hamm, yeah.
Mia Hamm for being just one of the greatest players ever.
Alex has Abby Wambach on his list, but I would say it's Mia Hamm over Abby Wambach. Mia Hamm was ridiculous and an out-and-out star.
The only reason why I would put Brandy Chastain is that moment is still talked about.
Moment, right?
It's
that's the moment everybody
20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I will take my shirt off. I will take my shirt off. I will take my shirt off. Which, yeah, if you guys don't remember, for those of you who weren't around, the women's team did this commercial where I don't even remember what they all said. I will do something. I can't remember what it was anymore. They had this commercial where they were trying to show team unity, like just before the World Cup or something, and it was like, I will take the shot. I will take the shot. I will take. And so when she ripped her shirt off, I was like somebody at my work, because I worked in TV news at the time and at an ABC station, so we were showing the World Cup, and somebody goes, "I will take my shirt off. I will take my shirt off." Oh. That moment still sticks with me, even more than watching the actual. I know I was watching the shootout there. But all I really remember is the reaction to her taking that shot and ripping her shirt off. But yeah, like, to me, choosing Brandy Chastain would be a bit like choosing, say, Golden Balls, because in a sense, it's not that, like, there were better players. It's more the moment that.
Well, yeah, I mean, for Brandy Chastain, it was a moment.
There.
But I'd argue for Golden Balls,
it was an attention-grabbing moment that she was sort of the
right
epicenter of, and that's kind of the same, I would say, of David Beckham. It's not necessarily to fault either of them. I'm just saying that
Beckham was a decision, though, and it was a pretty bold decision.
It was.
He left for Real Madrid to go to
LA. If you ask certain,
if you would. He didn't even which that book is amazing by Grant Wall, by the way. Just the fact that Beckham walked in not knowing. Your thing's falling.
Oh, the American who's commenting in Liga. Liga MX. Oh, I don't know. I thought I read that as La Liga. I was going to say, well, now I can't think of his name, but
yeah, I don't know. You're thinking, Chris, more like people who, like, non-players, basically. And maybe there's two lists.
I was just kind of looking at people across the board. So it could be players. I'd still put Landon Donovan in there. I mean, the guy was single-handedly the face of U.S. soccer for years.
Yeah, it is. If you ask,
to some extent,
yeah,
short of Christian Pulisic, he still is.
Yeah, if you ask a random sports fan who isn't totally knowledgeable, if you gave them the name Landon Donovan and the name Clint Dempsey, we'd all know both and could argue either way. But I think random fan on the street knows Landon way more than knowing Clint Dempsey. And part of that's just commercials, which, Clint didn't do as many of, unless he was just rapping or something. Don't tread.
That sounds like, who had the better rap album, Clint Dempsey or John Cena? Great rappers of all time, or Allen Iverson, I suppose. I think he had one, or Shaq.
I was just gonna say, you're gonna throw.
I
Shaq
had Shaq's album.
Ooh, that sounds like something.
Why?
I remember this. Can I share a lyric with you? Sometimes I rhyme slow. Sometimes I rhyme quick. Wake up in the morning, shave my head with Bic.
Was that Clint Dempsey or Shaq?
That was Shaq. I don't remember any of the Don't Tread song.
Other than Don't Tread, I can't remember any of it.
I had it though. I had it on my iPod.
Boom.
Well, Chris had a Zune, so there's that.
He couldn't figure out how to work it. He threw it against a wall. Yeah, Alex, you're right. Random people do know Tim Howard. That's another name that I think I would guess more random people know Tim Howard than Clint Dempsey.
Probably. I can't argue.
Beard in Belgium.
And
our shining moment as a team is a loss to Belgium. That still bothers me. It was a great performance, but why did we give up so many shots? Why couldn't we finish? Why didn't we have Landon Donovan in there instead of Wondolowski?
It's not that one. It's the Wando shot that always gets to me. Because, hey, look, somebody had to have the record for most saves in a match in the World Cup. Somebody always has to. Even if it was one, somebody has to have the record. I don't mind that he saved a lot of shots. I mind that we had a chance to win that damn game, and we blew it.
That's right, Wando. Well,
I have
wait,
2 Emmys, and you describe me as I used to be your intern.
Once upon a time, you were. That's how we met. That's how we met.
It's how we met. It's true.
So
you set me up for great success.
Well, Pat, now you've kind of got to.
Sorry to vulture or downplay your Emmys.
I don't do anything now. It doesn't matter.
Now I'm going to take it a different direction. I got a question based off of. So you said our biggest, most memorable game.
Is this the Minivan Dad pod?
No, this is a good. You'll like this question. You said our most memorable game was a loss, which was the loss to Belgium. That one or the one against Germany? Which one is?
Oh, the handball.
Yeah,
I think that might be.
Who was
the most memorable loss? I guess for you.
That would be 2002, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it Torsten Frings who had the handball?
Yes.
Yeah. Sandra still says he did.
Most memorable game. Part of me thinks it might be the Mexico match just before that.
No, the most memorable game is Algeria. I think for anybody.
Maybe that was
because of the ending.
It was an excellent game. At least according, yeah. I went from furious, screaming, and probably throwing things because we were going to get screwed out of advancing to oh my god, it's really happening. I went out walking like around my neighborhood after that. I was wearing a Donovan jersey, and people were like honking, like waving at me out the window.
Yeah, Rob, I have the same exact story. Like I played soccer as a kid, and then basically shut it out of my life. And the 2002 World Cup, specifically the Mexico game and the Germany game, were what got me. And then befriending Chris for some reason were what got me like into it as a fan. I had never been a fan before that. I was aware of it. I watched the 94 World Cup. I was completely oblivious to the 98 World Cup, apparently, because I didn't know all that was going on until, years later. But I think all Americans try to block that one out of their mind. But yeah, it was that 2002 World Cup that that brought me online as a fan.
Well, I would say John Harkes is probably definitely trying to block it out.
Maybe Ian can do it to someone else.
You know, Christian, being friends with Chris doesn't get you killed, but being friends with Chris might be a poor life choice.
I mean,
and 30 years later, I'm still making the same mistake.
I made it way before I made it, so
yeah, that's true. There's that.
Yeah, Michael. I know that 2010 Slovenia game. Yeah, Adu's perfectly fine. Phantom foul, or well, technically we still don't know what that call was. Why am I drawing a blank on the referee's name?
Because it's a referee and you really don't care.
It's Larianda, right?
No.
Is that right?
Or was Larianda the Italy game?
Larianda, I think, was the Italy game. Damn it, I know it because I sometimes try to start cheers like this at matches. If I'm not liking referees' decisions, I will start cheering. Are you Larianda?
You are not allowed to start your own cheers anymore. By the way, that is not a sanctioned cheer. It's a different story. We should talk about that.
Maybe that's something we should talk about. Maybe we can do that. Go in depth on the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod about some of the new rules to be a fan.
Yeah. If you don't know, I will say this. Like, I went to rejoin American Outlaws, and they have a terms and conditions. And in their terms and conditions, it basically says that you agree to control your speech to their liking. You will not say anything. I forget what the wording was, whether it was negative or offensive or whatever, online or offline. So basically anywhere. I don't know where the cutoff is for their, what they think that what qualifies as offensive or appropriate or not. But I was so uncomfortable with that. I said, nah, I'm not going to resign. I'm just going to sit elsewhere. It's fine. It's, I think that's ridiculous. And this sort of thing started for the last Mexico game in Columbus because everyone was so afraid that there'd be, rampant racism in the stands or whatever, that everybody was kind of like, they were making a strong effort to try to control what people were saying. And I guess it's gone on from there, but I'm not a fan of that, and I won't be signing up for it right now. So, yeah.
Koulibaly.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Huh. And all this time I thought they made us be nicer in the Outlaws section because Lance Armstrong was there.
God, what if he watches? Wouldn't that be a great twist? That all these years later, the guy, if you know the guy who was puking in the Lance Armstrong outfit in Columbus, we want to hear from him. We want to hear if he made it out of there okay. Or if you know the guy who, it's been years since we've told the 2013 story of the guy falling several bleachers down and his head exploding right next to me.
Yeah.
From the 2013, right before the whistle of the 2013 Dos Acero, a guy fell.
Chris not even right before. It was like 20 minutes before the game. So that's
true.
Because
a guy falls like at this angle so that his head is almost below his feet at this point, when the bridge of his nose, like right there, smashes into the 1 inch back of the bleacher, and it just blew up. And his friends did not want to take him out of there because they didn't want to leave because nobody wanted to miss that match because
they were telling me he was amazing. Okay. His eyes were totally rolled back.
He was gonna die. And
there was so much blood. I couldn't I realized I saw a line, but there was so much blood on him. I couldn't tell if he busted his nose, if he busted all his teeth out, if he went
Dude started pouring their beer on the puddle, which was right next to, literally the seat next to me was covered in blood. And dude started pouring their beer on it to sort of spread,
wash it away.
Yeah, and it turned
out
like this
thick. It just got bigger. It was a big black pool. It was at least like 6 or 8 feet across.
I think we're a little bit bigger now than the last time we told the story. If you know that guy,
oh yeah,
We want to have him on the show.
I reached out to AO like afterwards and asked, does anybody know? Because yeah, I was yelling at these guys like, get him out of here. Like I was trying to yell to security, but we were in like the middle of the section, so they couldn't hear me at either end. And I'm like, no, I'm like, you get this guy out of here before he dies. They're like, no, he'll be okay. And I'm like, selfishly, I'm thinking like, no, you're not ruining my match because you guys screwed up. Like this is your fault,
You're
not
not
my
taking
fault.
him to the doctor.
I'm like, no, I didn't bring this guy. I didn't have anything to do with this. I didn't feed this kid all this beer or whatever he was drinking or what. Like they were all clearly wasted, and I was so angry at them. Like, no, I don't want to watch this kid die, but I also don't want my game ruined because you guys are too stupid to handle yourselves.
Would you have left the match for me if I had fallen and exploded?
Then it would be my responsibility. Like then I'm involved. I got to do something.
Yeah. I wouldn't have. No. I mean, Chris. And Chris is there talking about these guys being wasted like he wasn't at the same time.
He wasn't that wasted.
He didn't fall over.
They're kind of wasted.
I don't think Chris has ever been that wasted that I've ever seen him. That was.
I've seen him that way. That may not that wasted.
They were too messed up to realize.
It was
they were trying to tell me they like sat him up and they're patting him on the back and he's like going, oh. Like his head's just rolling around. His eyes were totally back in his head. I've only seen that like a couple times where it's like, this guy's totally unconscious. Like where truly their eyes have just rolled back. I've only seen it a couple times in my life, and that was one of them. And like I'm screaming in this guy's face, like, you get him out of here now. He is going to die.
It was fun.
And then I don't know. I turned around because they started chanting or something. I think maybe the teams came out to warm up. I don't even know what exactly happened. I turned around, and by the time I turned back around behind us, they were gone. So I still don't know what happened. But yeah, I asked AO at the time, and nobody even knew what I was talking about.
Plot twist: Alex says the guy is actually anonymity. He's not here. I have a conspiracy theory that anonymity is a famous former player. I won't name which one.
Eric Ronaldo?
No, we'd be able to pick up on that writing pattern. Those ballistics would be showing themselves right away.
Christian keeps asking, should Pulisic play in the Gold Cup or take preseason with Chelsea? Play in the Gold Cup. I don't.
Are we going to do the thing where the stars stay away from the
opening point in the summer? I don't think that the preseason will be important enough anyway, and I think with the kind of money they've spent on them, they're going to find a way to work them in.
Sorry to be there.
Well, yeah.
That's now a thing that I didn't expect to have to think about.
Yeah,
After 6-0, maybe.
Well, you mean somebody new managing Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea is worse than Arsenal as far as the unpredictability of whatever anything can literally happen.
I tweeted the other day, they could beat anyone or they could get destroyed by anyone in any game, and you don't know which could happen.
Nice, Alex.
They are more Arsenal-y than Arsenal right now.
And no, I fully expect Chelsea to have a new manager. There's so much dysfunction in that dressing room right now. I just don't see him surviving.
I'll tell you who's available. Jose Mourinho.
Wow, then would he be the Billy Martin of English managers?
Oh my god. Klinsmann.
Now of those three, who'd you want to see the most managing Chelsea for comic relief?
Well, I mean, if Pulisic wasn't involved, I would say Jose, because it would be he'd probably win a title and then he'd blow up because he's at Chelsea.
The one thing though, and this is why I like, now that they are suddenly supposed to keep like their finances more in check, they're supposed to operate within their budget.
Is that what Vlad's telling?
Yeah. They're not the dominant team they were, and I think maybe that's part of why they're so up and down. They can't Man City this thing.
Man City shouldn't be able to continue to Man City this thing, but whatever. Dave Sarakin's available. No, he's got that job at North Carolina, right? So
Yep. North Carolina
I'm not
FC.
sure if Jim is saying Bruce Arena should coach them, or I was going to say he's another one I might put in that most impactful people. For as disastrous as his most recent turn as national team manager was, or turned out to be, he had a pretty masterful turn in his first time, and I think you could say he kind of helped shape Bob Bradley. Like so much of
Bruce had an amazing impact. You're right.
So much of what the like coaching direction has been for the last 20 years basically is either because of Bruce or is like in response to Bruce.
Well, let's see. I mean,
Alex says Chelsea can't have another Italian. Alex, your dad is going to call you out for being anti-Italian. I think you got on Chris once when Chris was doing the no good stuff.
I mean, how many times did he win? He won 2 with DC, right? Arena, we're talking about here.
I think that's right.
Two or three with LA.
Yeah.
Like 4, wasn't it like 4 or 5 with Virginia?
Plus all the stuff at Virginia, yeah.
And plus the deepest run in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then his right-hand man is maybe the only guy is probably to this point the only guy who you could say was a better national team manager.
Yeah.
No, I think you got to put Bruce in those 5. Just for if you're talking about overall impact in U.S. soccer history, you got to put Bruce in there. I don't think that's even a question. In that
we went back to our. If you're joining us late, we had a topic where we talked about the 5 most impactful people in U.S. soccer history, and so we're not talking about Bruce coaching Chelsea because we came out of that. It sounded kind of weird, but we're circling back to that because somebody asked on the chat, but yeah. So I think, guys, that we should do more of these types of evergreen questions to help get us through the
ever brown days of.
You can only say, I hope Christian Pulisic does well, and it's really great that Tim Weah is scoring goals so many times before you're going to go crazy. But yeah, I like these sort of diving back into history type discussions. It allows us to tell stories about a guy dressed as Lance Armstrong throwing up and another guy whose head exploded. Which
turned out to be anonymity.
It could be.
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know much about anonymity. We know he's from Florida.
Jeff Agus. Wow.
I still think you should have him on the Minivan Dad Soccer Pod, TJ.
If he were to reach out to me, I would probably make that arrangement. I could see that.
I don't know what his Twitter handle is. I don't know who. Maybe he's one of the people who tweets us. I don't know if he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just shows up for this.
That could be.
All I know is he speaks German and he's from Florida.
And he has more energy than you, low energy too.
Yeah. Why are you telling? You're selling like you. We're nice enough to go on your podcast.
You know what? You can keep whining. It was, and that was probably a poor choice of words, but I still think it kind of felt that way because we were all dreading the day off. I think it was the cold was coming in that night.
Yeah.
So that's what the explanation was. All 3 of us we were talking about, we're going, we're going to have the kids tomorrow. It's going to be awful cold. I think it was already in the deep freeze. So the energy level isn't going to be there. So, yeah.
The dog is snoring incredibly loud.
So is Mary Grace, come to think of it.
It's insane. Yeah, speaking of the weather, by the way, for those of you that don't live here, be thankful because it's just been, I can't, why do I live in this area?
The drive back from the North Shore, from the north side was absolutely awful.
I should move to Florida with anonymity. Go hang out down there. But then you've got like you're fighting off pythons and your meth heads and everything that comes with Florida. The elderly.
Gators.
Gators are awesome. Gators are up there with my. Here's another. We shouldn't get into this. I have
Cat-back
favorite.
predators.
Somebody once made fun of me because I have some favorite animals, but apparently I learned this a few days ago, guys. This is pretty sad. I think Chris is anti-mascot. He didn't understand why I think Gunnersaurus is cool. It's just, I mean, it probably should have opened with that kind of material, but
but Gunnersaurus is no gritty. I mean, he's good. He's just not gritty.
I don't like a gritty type mascot. It's an insane thing on that thing's.
I just don't understand what it is.
No, Gunnersaurus
it looks like it's going to murder you.
Gunnersaurus is a noble soul and a good friend.
But that's part of the appeal of gritty. Gritty may actually murder you.
He's like, Philadelphia.
Yeah. How about Gritty goes and kills Gunnersaurus?
Don't talk about.
Have we bottomed out yet tonight?
Jesus Christ! Gunnersaurus is a treasure.
He's no Gritty though. I'm sorry. It's just he's not there.
Gunnersaurus reminds me of when the Bulls had Benny the Bull in the 90s. He was this big, fat, lovable guy before he became like the Benny the Bull. Then they brought in Double, who was like the one that would dunk off trampolines. And then they sort of merged the two into a thinner, fitter, wackier Benny the Bull. Benny the Bull, I like the fat old Benny the Bull better. I like fat Elvis. I like fat Benny the Bull. I like the fat.
Is that because you're fat?
Probably.
Yeah,
Not that fat. A little fat.
Okay. Pranav has brought it up. We were going to bring this up. There is still one serious thing to talk about. The She Believes roster has been announced. So the women's team, no major surprises except Lindsey Horan is out because of a quad injury, I guess, and Morgan Bryan.
Yeah, Morgan Bryan
started in the recent loss to France. Nowhere to be seen this time.
There are 5 Red Stars on the roster, but she is not one of them. That's correct.
All right, now we've got to go back to mascots. Alex says the best mascot's the Vegas Llama. No, the best mascot in Vegas is Freddie Adu.
Is he still there?
I have no idea. Maybe he's one of the trialists.
Every time I think I know where Freddie Adu is, he's moved on.
Selling vacuum cleaners or promoting bars or something.
No, we're leaving that alone. We're leaving that alone.
Oh my God, yeah.
Can't do it. Leave it alone.
Chris can tell you all about him.
What else do we have to talk about?
In great detail. That's it. We've covered it. This is USfanTV. We have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. We haven't done a show in a while, but we have YouTube, and you're on that channel right now. So subscribe to our show, to our channel, and you'll find out when we do these shows. Generally speaking, we do the shows on either Tuesday or Thursday night at around 10/9 Central, sometimes a little later if I can't get my 3-year-old to agree to go to bed and stop fighting me over it. We also do programs following U.S. men's national team matches, and perhaps even this summer following U.S. women's national team matches in the World Cup. There is also a podcast. It is not our podcast. It's TJ's podcast, but it's the Minivan Dad Soccer Podcast. It has a better logo than USfanTV now. It's got a nice new one, fresh.
It's got some exciting sound parts that are bits that are going to be dropped in.
It's no longer that both shows have logos I've designed.
Nope. We evolved past you, Chris.
You did have the initial sketch of the USfanTV logo, but then that man in Asia did it for us for $5. We made him revise it like 7 times for that $5. So I feel kind of guilty about that. Hope he's doing well. Don't remember his name. Yeah, that seems like I don't know. Hope he's doing well. TJ, do you have any final words of the Mini Dad and Dad Soccer Podcast?
Nope, just still doing Army all week, so hopefully we'll be back next week. But that's about it.
Who's got more listens, me or Chris?
You're tied. I'm not kidding.
I'm going to go right now. What about the show with both of us? Was the show with both of us?
Nope.
Really?
I did not do. Maybe went to the well once too often, or maybe it was because it was such an awful week weather-wise that nobody just.
No, you should want to listen to podcasts when it's bad weather. We actually suck pretty bad, I think. That's enough out of you. Chris, final words.
Nothing. You're done.
All right. We'll see you at some point, guys. This is USFanTV, and you are done.